Thank you so much for staying on the AM show with me, Bernice Abubedu Lansa. It's now time to bring you our Drive Safe for today. Remember, it's the season where a lot of merrymaking happens, and also you need to be very careful. Please don't drink and drive. Let's go for our Drive Safe with Benjamin Akakpo.
Hello there. Welcome to another installment of Drive Safe with me, Benjamin Akakpo, where we all get to stay very aware, cognizant of driving safe on our roads to ensure that we are safe and that other motorists, pedestrians and others also stay safe. Every day we lose so many lives when it comes to the carnage on our roads. It can be prevented if we all try to be more careful. And that's why we have this segment, Drive Safe. We're back at Top Tech Transport and Logistics. But before we get into today's topic and engage our guest, so you think you know, here is today's road signal. Do you think you know what this means? All right, so at the tail end of today's segment, we'll get into the meaning of that road segment. But on that note, let me say hello once more to Cecil Gabra.
Hello, Ben.
He's CEO here. He's the boss of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. How are you doing? How is business? Top Tech.
Well, it's a little bit difficult, but we are still sailing
What's
through.
making it difficult?
Well, of course, it's difficult for companies to understand that if you have drivers, you should train them. You should train your own staff that you've given them vehicles. You know, we are into security training as well. You need to train your own staff to be security conscious. What about your home security? We do all those training, but people don't understand, okay?
They think we don't need this.
They would think they don't need it. I just gave some lectures at my Rotary Club that those who are leaving their homes who put that big padlock are the victims, okay? Because you're telling everybody that I'm not at home. Of course, thieves are very intelligent than us. Yes, that's what they believe. So if you put a big padlock behind your gate, then you've told everybody that I'm not home, you can come. Okay, so these are some of the things that we do, and then that's the training we give, that don't use the padlock. You can use what we call the yield lock. Right. Look around, if there's nobody there, put a key there. So that's a tip for security at home. And you need to come over for more training.
Security tips. I think next time we come to you, we'll focus on security as well. But let's go back to what we're talking about the last time, which has to do with the causes of road crashes. We spoke about the motorbike, tricycle, bicycle scenario, and how a lot of them are not using their lights when they ought to be doing so. But there's another dynamic to this conversation. You would notice that when it comes to the tricycles, a lot of them are also causing accidents. How? By frustrating the heck out of other motorists. They are going so slowly, maybe they've piled, and in fact, I don't know whether they don't overload their vehicles, their tricycles, because you see it's packed so high, it makes them so slow, and especially when they are in a place where there's only enough space for one vehicle at a time. They block the other vehicles behind them. People are honking their horns, people are trying to get past them, and before you realize it, accident.
Well, that's very true, right? And that is why I know for a fact that the current Minister for Greater Accra is doing everything to take them off the road, right? It is not an easy task because he needs a document to do that. The airline doesn't specify that they should not come on that major road, okay? But then we could have a document or a supplementary to, work it out to take them off. They are quite a nuisance. Now, every road has, let me say, we have our speed limits. If you're driving in Accra, the maximum speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour.
That is within the city?
Yes, in the city, right. When you're driving on the highway, you are traveling from Accra to, let's say, Cape Coast, maximum 80 kilometers per hour. And then on the motorway, 100 kilometers per hour. But this is a situation where the tricycle cannot even match up the 50 kilometers per hour maximum with their load could be about 20 kilometers per hour.
I'm sure some go at about 10. I mean,
Yes.
it's maddening.
Yes, and because of the load, they cannot drive at the edge of the road. Okay, so they will rather force and be in the middle of the road or take over the entire lane. Honestly speaking, if you are going to work and you have timed yourself that look by 8 o'clock you get to work, they are quite a nuisance and something must be done. Okay, have you realized that they don't have mirrors?
They don't. A
Yes.
lot of them don't.
As well as the Okada. If you ask them why, they will tell you that if the mirrors are there, they cannot maneuver. But you need the mirrors to even look at your side, or the back. And then also...
So that in itself is an illegality.
Very, it is.
And we're not addressing it.
We are not addressing it. And then nobody must be seated by that tricycle. But you find the guy riding and then somebody else is seated on the side with one leg somewhere
I don't know
else.
why they usually
There's
do that
no,
with the leg.
there is no space for them, so you need to raise one leg, okay?
Right.
Which means that the center of gravity of that tricycle will not hold, okay? Because when he brings his leg down, it will affect the weight as well as the balance of everything. So they are quite a nuisance. Something must be done as soon as possible. But we don't have any current law to say they cannot use any road or any major road.
So just to be clear, we're not saying that they don't deserve, because they also have a means of transport. Right. They also deserve to be there. But the problem is they are creating a nuisance. So how do we deal with it? Two things I want to run by you. What do we do? First of all, the weights they carry. And I don't know, like you said, this may be a loophole in LI2180, because I don't know whether there are any dynamics when it comes to how much weights they can carry, because that will also determine how quickly they can go or how slowly they will move. The second bit is, can we have lanes allocated to them, for example? Is that something we should be thinking of as a country?
Well, let me start with the lanes, okay? In other developed countries, we have bicycle lanes, we have lanes for slower vehicles such as the tricycles. But then here we are, even our BRT, we are suffering. We don't have any dedicated for them. And I always talk about it, that it was quite a useless venture to introduce BRT in Ghana. Now,
talking of the Ayalolos and the,
yes,
when we don't have designated lanes.
Yes, if you don't have any segregated road, why do you worry yourself to bring in that huge bus, very expensive bus? Now they are struggling with structure because we don't have any segregated road. Okay, so we also don't have any road for these tricycles, and they are struggling with trotros as well as the Ayalolos and so on. Right. And that is quite a difficult situation. We don't have any lanes at all for them. Now, talking about the issue of overloading, yes, there are laws on overloading. I mean, this tricycle, if
pardon the interjection, if you're in your saloon car and you have, say, 6 people in there, you can be stopped because you are taking way more people than is allowed. So same should apply to them, right?
See, yes, that is why when you look at a motorcycle, tricycle, right, if you go deep in it, it will tell you that, look, this is 2cc, which means that the cubic capacity must not exceed a certain amount, right? Now, do law enforcers know this? If they know, they will have to weigh the whole water or whatever is in the tricycles, because if they're in front of you and they cannot go, it is not the case that they cannot go, it is because of the overload which is affecting the equipment, which is the tricycle, okay? Some of them have very low capacity and therefore they cannot be on the major road, and that is what the Greater Accra Minister is pushing for, and that must happen. I'm supporting it, that they must not be on the major road. They can be somewhere in the community, and that is what I'm also advocating for, especially those garbage guys, the tricycles that will use the motorway to empty their tricycles or their buckets. Okay, from Accra they are going to Pong to do that, and that is so bad. And that is also causing a lot of hassle. So what I am thinking of is that if it is here at La,
Right.
Okay, they cannot cross the major road. We should give them a central point where they can offload their garbage, and then we'll have a bigger vehicle that will come and pick all away and use the motorway instead of us allowing them to use the tricycles on the motorway, because the laws on the motorways are also there. No tricycles must be on the motorway, no bicycles, no human beings must cross the motorway. We have laws there. No motors that are below a certain capacity, that is mopeds.
A scooter, for example.
Yes, they cannot be on the motorway and so on. That is below 2.5 cubic capacities. They cannot use the motor. But what do we see? Human beings are using it. Horse riders are using it. They are crossing, and so and the motorway. Yes, the motorway is destroyed, right? So talking about tricycles, we don't have a lane. They are struggling. But the other issue is that most of them are breadwinners of their families. It is better for you to carry this water to go and give it to Auntie Mansa to get something for your family than to be an armed robber. Right. So we need to look at it. The situation is quite dicey, but we must also give them laws to go accordingly so that you and I will be free from any accident.
Thank you so much, Cecil. Thanks for the education. Hopefully you've learned something from today's segment. This has been part 2 of our getting into the causes of road crashes. But right before we end, so you think you know, here's the answer to today's quiz question. And that's the answer. If you didn't know, now you know. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for joining us for another installment of Drive Safe. Have a good day.